Hello! Today we are doing the intelligence box from Hack the Box. It's a Windows machine with Active Directory and it's recommended in the TJNull List to prepare for the OSCP. So let's get started. As always, we start with a port scan, and I'm using auto recon with the recursive flag enabled for recursive directory enumeration. And since port scanning takes some time, I run it before and we can have a look at the results. To do this, I start the Python HTTP server in my directory with the results. And then we can go to our web browser and browse the results. We can see port 88 was found for Kerberos. We also found port 139 for SMB. And we can see the domain name and also the computer name. So let's add both to our hosts file. We see anonymous login was successful. We also found port 80. We also found some endpoints like a index HTML. There's also a documents folder, and we can see there are a few PDF files, this one, and also this one. Let's visit the website. It looks like a simple static website. So we can see here the links to the documents again. There's a PDF file with a date stamp for 1st of January, and we have one for December. So it could be that there are more, and we can maybe just try this. Let's change this to 2, and we get another hit. So instead of manually trying now all dates, we can write a script to automate this process. And that's what I have here. It's a short Python script. We specify our base URL, our start date and end date. Then we iterate through the dates. We create our file name. We check if the file exists. If so, we download it and save it in our directory. And in case of any error message, we also log this. So we got many PDF files. Let's first move them in a new directory. And we can open one. We see some lorem ipsum text, so no information in here. We can also check the metadata with EXIF tool. And we see for the creator, we have a name. And this could be a potential username. So we can check if we also see this metadata for other files. And we do. So we can also automate this process and extract all the creator names. For extracting the creator field, we can use EXIF tool. We specify here the attribute, and we want to apply this to all PDF files. Let's run it again and save the output in a text file. And we have now a list with potential usernames. So we have a lot of PDF files, and there might be some useful information in one of these files. Instead of opening every single file, we want to do some automation and check if we, for example, find a password in this. There's a tool PDF to text that can help us with this task. If you need to install it, you need to install this package. Then we can run some shell script. We iterate through every PDF file in this directory. We apply PDF to text, and we just want to grab for password. And we do it also case insensitive. We got a hit in this file, so let's open it. And we see the default password is this. We can use now netexec and check for any username in the creators text file if they have the default password. We specify the flag continue on success because it could be that multiple users still have the default password. And we see that the user Tiffany still uses the default password. We can check if we find for this user any shares that we can read on SMB. There's the IT share and also the user share. Also, since we have now a working credential pair, we can extract all the usernames from Active Directory. And we use netexec again with SMB, and we use the flag users export and store the usernames in our file users.txt. We can check now if there's any new username that still uses the default password. So we run our command again, but this time we specify our new user list. Again, the only user that uses the password is Tiffany. We can also check if Tiffany has WinRM access, but it doesn't look so. So let's connect to the SMB share and see if we find anything there. I'm using the SMB client from Impacket. We specify the username, password, and the IP address. Let's first inspect the IT share. There's a PowerShell script down detector. So we see it's a script that runs every 5 minutes. With get child item, it gets all the domain names and it filters for the one that start with web. Then it sends a request to this domain and authenticates with the default credentials. If this failed, it sends an email to the user Ted. So if we are able to manipulate a DNS record that we control, we receive this incoming request and we can capture the default credentials. And the easiest way to see if we have permissions to do this is by just trying. We use a tool, DNS tool, that we can get from GitHub. In order to catch the incoming request, we start responder. And now we run the DNS tool script. We specify our username with the password. We say we want to add a new DNS record and we call it web.intelligence.htb. We specify our CADI IP address and the server. And it was successful, and now we need to wait 5 minutes for the next request. We also need to stop our Python HTTP server that we started earlier. And then we start responder again. We see we got a hit and responder remembers the hash from my first try. So let's inspect the logs. We can find them in this directory and they are stored in this file. And here we see the hash for the user Ted. We can copy the hash, we store it in a file. We can use John to crack the hash with the RockU word list. And we found the password. We can check if this user has WinRM access, but we don't. So we can continue now with Bloodhound enumeration. And I'm using the community edition. We specify the domain, our username, password, domain controller, and we want to collect all information. We start Bloodhound. We upload all our data. We can start with our user Tiffany. But we don't have any outbound object control. So let's check the other user. We see Ted is member of the IT support group, which has this permission for this service user. We see service int is a group managed service account, and with this permission, we can read the password, which allows us to impersonate this account. We see we can use the tool GMSA dumper to perform the attack. We download it. We run the script. We provide our username, the password, the domain name, and the domain controller IP. We see it failed. It's asking if LDAPS is enabled. So it's always a good idea to try multiple tools in case one is not working. We can also use netexec to perform this attack with the GMSA flag. Also here, we don't get any results back. So we can use another tool, and this time it's bloody AD. We give it the host name, domain name, user and password. We want to have the object service in, and we want to read the password. This time it worked, and we got the NTLM hash back. We can go back to Bloodhound and check what permissions this user has. And we see it has constrained delegation privileges on the domain controller. So here we can see the interesting part. This allows us to authenticate as any user to specific services, which also includes domain admins. We see we can use this script to perform the attack, so let's try it. This script is part of the Impacket package. We specify the SPN. We want to impersonate the administrator. We pass the hash we just got, and we also define our username. And it failed because the clock screw is too great. So we need to synchronize our times with the domain controller. And the most reliable way to do this is to use fake time and NTP date. We put it in front of our command, and we specify here the domain controller. And we can see our ticket was saved in this file. We export it now. We can now use WMI exec to authenticate to the domain controller. We use -K for Kerberos authentication without password. And again, we need to use fake time to synchronize our clock. And we can see the root flag. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time.